Please listen carefully.
Welcome back to the Focus Target Podcast. This is your host, Smiley, Captain Smiley. Sometimes I forget my own name. With me, as always, are Shy and Van. I very rarely forget their names. How you guys doing?
What it do?
Doing all right.
What it do, Buckaroo? All right. Well, we are back. It's been a couple weeks. We've had some things come up here and there. So sorry for people who've been wondering where we've been at. We just have had some real life entanglements that have kind of caused us to be pushed back a couple weeks, but we are here once again. Today we are going to do one of our infamous Disc in the Drive episodes, which we used to do like every other week, but now it's been like actually a couple months, I think, since we've done one just by virtue of the podcast. So, kind of get through kind of what we've been up to, what we've been playing, things like that. Before we get to that point, of course, though, we do have a question of the day, and if you can remember all the way back to episode 117, where we discussed Kenobi, the Star Wars Disney Plus series, we kind of had some, got back into our Star Wars talk, and so today's question of the day, somewhat related, which is okay, so now we've seen Kenobi. That was one that we were really waiting for. I think for a long time, all of us were pretty excited for. But what do you want to see next? Like got three trilogies worth of movies. We got a bunch of spin-off movies. Now we've had a handful of series. Like what could they tell if they came out tomorrow? If Disney came out tomorrow and said, "Here's our next whatever movie, show, piece of media." What would it take to get you excited for? What would you want to see that you'd be like, maybe I'm tired of Star Wars, but not now. Now I want to see this. That's what I want to know from you. What would get you going? What do you want to see from Star Wars? I'm gonna start with Shy.
Well, if they came out tomorrow and said we're creating a whole new trilogy, episode 1's basically episode 4 and episode 7 all over again. There's going to be a giant space destruction base, and we're going to bring back beloved characters that we kill off. And no, that's not none of that stuff. That's I wouldn't be excited about that. That's what I hope they don't.
You don't want them to remake the original.
Yeah, I don't want them to do what they did. Basically, I would love, and I think some of this will speak to you, Smiley, a little bit. Van, I don't remember if you've read any of the books at all. Like, I can't remember if you read any of the Star Wars novels, but I know Smiley has and I have, and so something I would love to see, and I think it'd be great. And I think they even teased a little bit with the Book of Boba Fett, but I'd love to see them take the courtship of Princess Leia and make a movie out of it. And I don't know how you would do it because I mean they really missed their opportunity with Harrison Ford and with actors being alive or young. So I don't know how you would even do that. You'd have to recast, I guess. But that story that's one of my favorite books in period, and definitely probably my favorite Star Wars book. And I just I think that would have made a great film. But maybe like an anime or something, like with some of the animated stuff we've seen, like with like Castlevania and like are so good and so well done. Maybe they could turn some of these books into like animated Star Wars stories.
There is precedent in the canonical Star Wars universe right now. The Witches of Dathomir are something that was introduced. I think I don't remember if it was in the Clone Wars series or the Star Wars Rebels series, but one of the animated series has actually touched on that a little, taken some of the. I don't know how close it is to the book because I've not seen where it is. I just know of it. But like I know that the witch, like Dathomir is canonical, and the witch is there, the Force users there, the Rancors, all that stuff. I think is still canonical. So
well, do they mention it in Book of Boba Fett?
Oh, maybe they did.
When he gets the Rancor, I think they mention like the Witches of Dathomir ride, like are known to ride it, and he's like, "Oh, that's what I want to do." I think they do reference it there. So
yeah, so like they basically have said like kind of the framework, like some of the stuff from that story is already in place. So I mean, I would say that's not a completely far-fetched one. And also like I said, a lot of that came from the animated series already. So like that could be a cool way to get around that. The actors issue.
And, well, we've seen them digitally composite 3D versions of these actors' faces on people anyway, so they could just do that.
But we've
also seen the whole movie.
Backlash from that. We've seen some backlash from that. All right, what about you, Van? What could get you juiced up for Star Wars?
I thought I was done with new Star Wars videos until this question came up, and then I realized I'm not even near done at all because there's actually quite a bit I want to see. One, so I asked, I was watching episode 1, The Phantom Menace with Sheenie a couple weeks ago, and she was like, is there anything leading up to the virgin birth or anything leading up to how what is her name? His mother. What is her name?
Um, Shmi.
Shmi. Is there anything up to Shmi, like how she gets captured by Guado or becomes a slave by Guado and all that stuff? And I know he talks in episode 1 about being part of the hut trade or hut gambling or something like that, is how a lot of people are acquired and lost and whatnot. But so she had mentioned that. So just notable mention to her. She wants to see a prequel to the prequel.
Wow.
So leading up to the virgin
Probably
birth.
don't get a whole lot of clamoring for that one.
I'd
That's
never thought of that. Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, that's
I,
pretty interesting.
speaking of Star Wars books, I'm not sure if it touches on this, but I know there was a book that came out, I think between episodes 8 and 9, um, that was about Darth Plagueis, and it was like young Palpatine kind of
Mhm.
learning from Plagueis.
Yeah,
I don't know how much or if that touches on the Virgins. I think that's the understanding, at least the implication, is that
yeah,
that was kind of arranged by Darth Plagueis or
yeah.
Palpatine in some degree. So I don't know if there's some content there that
Hmm.
maybe you might be interested in, but just
Yeah.
throwing that out there. I
So,
haven't read.
and then one quick notable mention. Like I said, I didn't think I wanted to see everything, but now I have like a million things I want to see. Where the hell does Darth Maul go? Because we
Mm.
see his resurrection or his existence at the end of Solo, I believe it was, and we or see him sitting on the throne. I think it's Solo.
For yeah, it
So,
is the end of Solo, yeah, but
you
uh,
know he's there, and then we don't know whatever happens after that.
I believe all that comes from the Clone Wars.
Or
And
Rebels? Is it Rebels
Okay,
or is
we
it
just started
Clone
touching that.
Wars?
it's he's definitely in Rebels, and maybe
All
it's
right.
more Rebels. I thought it was in Clone Wars as well, but maybe it's Rebel. I think it might be
Yeah,
Rebel.
No, it would
the
have to be
animated
after Clone
series.
Wars because Solo, timeline wise, chronologically, is after episode 3, and Clone Wars is between 2 and 3.
Right, but, like,
So
Darth Maul's fall fell from after episode 1, but then
right.
Rebels, I think, is
Well,
also set between
and is
3 and 4.
and is
It's
Van
Yeah,
kinda
3
saying
and
he
that
4.
wants to
same
know what
time.
happens to him after Solo? Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying, Van?
Right, yeah, that's
No,
what I'm
all right,
saying.
all
We
right,
see him in
gotcha.
probably
Solo,
that's
but
probably that's Clone Wars, I would think.
Hmm.
We could look that up, but, like,
well,
he's
Clone Wars
like
is
he
between 2 and 3
right.
chronologically. And if he's
Fact
in
check.
Solo, if he's in Solo, which is after 3,
Mhm.
then it can't be answered in Clone Wars
Why not?
because
Because
he's alive in Han, which is after 3. Clone Wars happens between 2 and 3.
yeah, but he
So
dies in 1. So he
no, but
dies in 1,
no,
he
but
shows up between 3 and
Van's
4.
saying he wants to see what happens after Solo,
Oh,
which is
right.
after
after
Solo.
Clone Wars.
Oh,
Yes,
I thought
yes.
you were saying, like,
What
how
happened?
he
No,
got
not
there.
how he no,
No,
not how he
I'm
got there. I
sorry.
wanna see
Okay.
because they
That
introduce him and you're like, "Oh, okay, he is here. Where's he go from here?"
That I think is answered in Rebels.
Oh, okay,
oh,
yeah.
I
so
think
Then
shows
I'll
Rebels
have to
takes
check out
place
I'll have to
after
check out
Solo.
Rebels.
yeah.
All right.
Alright,
I've
so
heard
now
really good things about Rebels, and Rebels ties like a lot of the characters in Rebels tie into what we saw in Mandalorian season 2. Like that's
Okay,
okay,
where
to get
so
to my actual answer,
wait, what?
after
What?
all of that other stuff that I talked about not wanting to see Star Wars anymore, we've
maybe
seen
we'll
a
wrap it up.
lot to do about the good people, about the faces, right? About we just had Mandalorian and Boba Fett. And although Boba Fett was supposed, most people probably would have characterized him as a evil person, a bounty hunter, and all of a sudden he's like this really good guy in this episode. So I'm gonna categorize him as a good guy. What I really want to see is what the hell was up with Palpatine from his death to episode 7, it would be, I guess. Yeah, 7. I want to see that in a mini series on how that all comes to be, how he ends up having Rey as a child, how he ends up not dying and still being alive. And I want them to tie all that into a nice little bow if it doesn't exist somewhere else in the universe already.
He falls down that shaft, screaming, and he latches onto an antenna on the bottom of the Death Star, and a TIE fighter comes
Nice.
up, and a
Yep.
hatch opens
Yep.
and pulls him in. And they're like, then he's in a bacta tank, and they're like, we got to go recover, so and
Right.
wait, no, this is no, right.
As long as Ian McDiarmid continues to play Palpatine, I'm on board, dude. I would totally watch that. I feel like yeah, I'm totally down.
Like, how
Totally.
awesome would it be to have like an actual like heel story as opposed to like a good-hearted fun story. Like
Well,
we saw a taste of it in with like Vader and like how jarring that was. Imagine a mini series based off of that kind of a person. Like that would be bizarre.
and there's definitely. I mean, that was one of the biggest complaints about Episode 9, right? It's like somehow Palpatine's
Yeah, all of a
returned,
sudden.
and it's just like, wow, like pull that out of your ass, did you? Like, even if it has to be a retcon, at least like put it all together. Give us the path. Make it believable. Make us say, "Oh wow." Like find a way to make us feel like, "Hey, this actually makes more sense now that we have the whole story," instead of just like you're a shitty writer and you just wanted to do some shock value and
Right.
nostalgia here. Yeah, I'm with that. I think that's a great idea. I like both of you guys' ideas. I think I would watch both those series. Um, for my answer though, you guys already touched on it a little bit. You guys know what I want, and that's Solo too. Like I don't care if
Mm-hmm.
they do it as a movie, if they want to do it as a miniseries, it kind of answers the questions. I think, like I said, I think Rebels kind of answers the question of what ultimately happens to Darth Maul. But I definitely think there's s- some time in there between the end of Solo with Kyra, I think was the girl, and like I just thought that whole cast, like that movie was awesome. I loved it. I'm so sad that it didn't have a great whatever, like a
Reception.
reception. But like I
Yeah.
thought that the actors who played young Lando and young Han, like they just nailed it. Like I
Perfect.
felt like they were great, and like it didn't make me feel like, this isn't Harrison Ford. And I love Harrison Ford and I love Billy D. Williams. Like I don't like I'm not trying to take anything away from them. It's like I get that some people kind of immortalize them in a way. And it's like I can't watch anyone else play this character, but like I thought they did perfect justice to those characters. And I loved that movie. I would love to see Solo 2, even if whether it's a Disney Plus series, a movie. That's my hope. Um, and I do agree too. I think we've seen it a little bit. We've kind of got this time between episodes 3 or episode 6 and 7 with the Mandalorian and Boba Fett. Like those all kind of take place in there. Rebels, I guess, is taking place somewhere in some you know in that time frame. But like we don't really have a great like to me it's like we don't really know what happened with the galaxy. I feel like that never was really answered. Maybe it was answered in one of the books that I don't know about, but it's like we go from the rebels won, the empire is destroyed, the emperor's dead to like 20 years later and like there's a whole huge host of imperials, there's another super death star, the emperor's not really dead. Like we don't really have any explanation for how like the politics went for those years. Not like I think kind of like you said about Palpatine, like what was he doing in between there? It'd be cool to just see like in general, like what was the galaxy doing in there? Why was the First Order able to rebuild and be such a threat? Where did they get their resources? Again, kind of questions that I have that don't really make sense about the new trilogy that I don't like. It's like if this empire was defeated and chased to the far reaches of the galaxy, like yet they had the resources and manpower and money to like build up a huge army, build up a star killer base, build a million freaking Death Star or Star Destroyers by episode 3. Like, where do they get this stuff? Like, it'd be cool to have some story there. So that would be kind of my honorable mention. Shy, you got anything to add to that? You're kind of smirking at me.
Any honorable mention? No, no. I just like the whole like the fleet of star destroyers at the end of 9. Like
Oh my god.
that is a cinematic moment. That's not
Dude.
something you explain. Like it
I
looks
guess, yeah,
cool, but there is no
because you can explain
explanation
it.
for
There's
You're
something like
right.
that.
no
It
Like
there's
doesn't make any
no
it's
goddamn
ridiculous. It's
sense.
ridiculous. So
It's like if it was that easy to put a super laser on a star destroyer, like every ship in the galaxy would have a planet destroying
yeah,
super laser.
yeah.
Like,
So my
why does the Empire have the monopoly on that?
Yeah, my honorable mention is talking about the independent films. You were a big fan of Solo, which is all right. I love Rogue One, so I'd love to see a Rogue Two. I'd love to see that cast come back. What happens to them after the end of that movie? You know.
I was,
Sorry, I can't
I
give a
get it.
serious
I
answer.
get it. It's good.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I think you at least get what happens before because I think they still have like a Cassian Andor like Disney Plus show slated at some point. Like I
Yeah,
thought they did.
you wonder
Maybe they
where
got
all those
canceled.
are going because isn't there
Yeah.
also there's what's the lady the female Jedi the Twi'lek who
Oh, Ashoka.
they were gonna do in Shokum. Like I don't know if that stuff's still in development. Like who knows what's
I
happening.
haven't heard anything new about it. But all right, well, boy, we're really that was a good question of the
Well,
day.
you
I
get
feel like
started on Star Wars, and then
yeah,
like
boy, that's
a
never
bunch of
happened to us
nerds here
before.
can't stop talking about it.
True. Well, if you have something you'd like to share with us on the podcast, send us an answer to the question of the day. What would you like to see from Star Wars? I know famously my wife has kind of checked out on Star Wars. Sarah doesn't really feel like she has time for it. There's too much competing for her very limited, valuable time. And she's like, I'm out on Star Wars. She didn't watch Boba Fett. She didn't watch Kenobi. Right. So, like, I wonder, like, is there something, that would get my wife hooked back in. Is there somebody out there listening to us? We'd like to know, from you. If you want to reach us, focustargetpodcast@gmail.com. That's the best way to get a hold of us. And if you send in your answers, we'll try to touch on them on our next pod. Um, we're also going to have so before we get into what we're actually playing, Van and I were talking outside, and we wanted to have a special discussion. Want to give it up for the ladies here because we found out that our wives have very different perspectives on whether or not you should get a new game. So we obviously all three of us, I think, have a pretty big backlog of games that we probably don't have the time to get to or would like to get to, in a better time. And so recently, I picked up Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and Van, I think you were thinking about picking up.
I was gonna finally visit Red Dead Redemption 2, which has been heralded as like one of the best games ever.
Yeah, I haven't played that. I've heard that as well. And so we both asked our respective wives, like, what do you think? Like, I feel bad. Like I said to my wife, I don't know how your conversation went. You could tell us, but I said,
You
I
saw
said,
me downloading it, and that started the conversation. Like I didn't
okay,
even
good.
there was no conversation.
Okay, well, you go first. Then you go first. Tell us how
All
that
right,
worked. So,
so but this goes beyond video games. Like my wife hates that I do this for her with everything. Like I'll put on a movie at like 9:15 at night, like Titanic or Braveheart or Gladiator, and then I'll go up to bed in like 30 minutes. Well, like she can't do that. So she ends up having to stay for like the whole freaking movie, no matter what. So she hates when I put on movies and then just leave. So she just won't even come down if I like start a movie or anything like that. Um, so anyway, she's the same. Like I play video games in the common area of the house on the main TV, so she gets to watch a lot of my video game playing. So she's been following me playing Horizon Zero Dawn, and she knows that I'm like I gotta be near it. We checked out the map together. There's 10% left that's shaded. Like I know I'm right towards the end, and I just put it down. I can't remember what I think Battlefield came out when I was like in the heart of finally about to beat this. And then so I went to I stopped playing that, did Battlefield, did that for like 4 months or 5 months or whatever it was. Then I was gonna go back to now saying, hey, I want to play a PlayStation game again. It's just fun to revisit console games. So I was like, I want to play Red Dead Redemption 2. I was high off of a what is that HBO Deadwood kick. I just saw the Deadwood series, and I'm like, oh, I want to go back and play some Western game. So Red Dead Redemption 2 seemed like the logical choice. So I start downloading it, and she just like, nope, I'm gonna stop you right there. You are not gonna start this game until we finish Horizon Zero Dawn. So she started naming off everything that's going on. I'm like, you don't even know what's going on in Zero Dawn. Why can't I just finish this? And she goes, no, that's bullcrap. She goes, I know the factions you've been going to. I know you're trying to figure out what happened to who her real mom and dad is. I know you're trying to figure. I'm like, all right, fine. You actually named some things that are somewhat relevant. So let me go ahead and continue playing here. And that's where we were. So I was telling Smiley this story, and he's like, interesting. Well, my wife has a different take on that, and why don't you let our audience know what that is?
yeah, and maybe it's because she's not as invested in the specifics here, like, because she doesn't watch me play very frequently, like, at all, ever. So, she's not, like, following along with the stories or anything like that, and so maybe that's a part of it, but, I was thinking about picking up Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which is, I'm sure, gonna be a massively long game, right? And I really love Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but I never finished it. I've tried multiple times to go back, and I've made progress, but, like, I'm still not through the end of it. Despite the fact that I like it, it's a very daunting game. It's kind of exhausting. And I've thought frequently about going back and playing Xenoblade Chronicles 1 remastered, which I've never even played. And I've never even gotten around to purchasing it because I've always said, well, let me finish 2. And if I finish 2, then I'll go to 1. So now 3's coming out. And I was like, boy, should I get this or not? And I was trying to, I use my wife as a sounding board for decisions I make quite a bit. And I'm like, what do you think? Like, should I get this? Like, I'm interested in it. It looks really cool, but, like, I still haven't finished the last one. She's like, Just get it. Why would you get it? Why wouldn't you get it? You should just go ahead and do it." And, like, what, like, if you wanna go back and finish the other one, you always can. It's not like it's going anywhere, but, like, if you want this one, you should just get it. So, yeah, like, when Van and I were talking about it, we were like, "Wow, that's funny how different, like, completely different feedbacks we're getting from our significant others on whether or not to buy a game." So, um, there you go. We thought that
I
would just be kind of fun to share. Sorry,
Yeah,
Shy. Was
that's a stark difference. Why I do not include him just because he wasn't included, but I do want to know where Shy stands on completing games. I remember at one point he was like all about the trophies and going pretty hard in the paint. Are you less hard on yourself? And then actually, that's the second question. The first question I have is that a new headset or is that your same old headset? It looks different.
Me?
Yeah.
That's the same one.
Oh, okay. So then, yeah, that's my question.
Yeah,
Ooh.
that's a good point. Like you don't have maybe an outside person to
Yeah, but you got an
consult.
inner
Yeah.
voice that
You
yells
have
at
an inner
you.
Yeah.
voice, exactly. Yeah.
First of all, I want to say both of your wives are logical in their own way. I appreciate Sarah's comment about the fact the game's not going anywhere. That makes total sense. It's something I would have never thought of myself. And often I find myself like, like, oh, I haven't finished this game. I want to get a new game. Like, that's great advice. And also, I really appreciate the fact that Sheeny will just finish the movie all the way through, that she can't just like leave it. So, that's both your wives are pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that I don't play a lot of games right now that require completion. A lot of the games I'm playing currently are persistent games, whether it's MMOs or shooters. So there's not much there. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about this in Disc in the Drive. I have left many games uncompleted throughout my life. In fact, it's easier for me to count games that I remember completing than games that I have completed. And I think part of that is just the nature of the world we live in as far as gaming goes. Like, games have gotten so long, and I often am drawn to long games. And then, like, new games are always coming out that look cool. And so, like, it's just easy, kind of like on Van's perspective, to dump 30, 40 hours into a game and get invested in it. But then, like, something comes up, you get detached, and sometimes it just feels harder to go back to it. Like, honestly, Van, like, you having she be able to like tell you what's going on in case maybe even you'd forgotten. I don't know if you'd forgotten, but like,
I had
sometimes I forget what happens in the game. If I had someone else who give me the cliff notes of where we were, I'd be a lot more inclined to like jump back in probably, than trying to like figure it out myself. But no, yeah.
It's funny how I've changed as I've gotten older because I know Van is all about starting fresh. But a lot of
Yeah.
times when you come back to a game you haven't played for a while, even if you got a save halfway through, you're like, oh, I'll just start from the beginning. Right. And I used to be like that with RPGs, and a lot of games I never finished because I would always do that. Like I get halfway through, I'd lose interest, I'd come back like a year later and be like, oh, I want to beat this game this time, but I'm gonna start from the beginning. And I get usually I get further, but I still wouldn't quite make it. And I think as I've gotten older, I've kind of gone more to that paradigm and been like, okay, like if I come back to a game, like I should really just like go online and read up about where I was up to where I was,
Mm,
figure
that's
out what
pretty
I was
smart.
doing, and like actually just try to finish this freaking game because I know what's gonna happen if I don't. I know how this is gonna end. It's gonna end abandoned halfway through. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I have some kind of a psychological completionism aversion or
Hmm.
something because I just don't like to finish games.
I
I
feel like
like to
we've
get
talked about
right
this in
up
the
to the
past.
point,
Yeah.
and then I don't. And maybe it sits better with myself if I know there's still excitement there as opposed to finishing it. I don't.
Didn't you
I
say
don't
that
know.
So,
about series too? And that's something you said
well, it's
about
almost
TV
like a
series? Like,
death,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean, it's
all the
like it's
time with
passing
TV
away,
series.
kind of.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. No, there's dude, like, of all the series to ever do it on, Lost is like the one you don't do it on. And out of 112 episodes, so spending over, 100 hours watching this thing, I think we had like 3 episodes left and I haven't finished it. And that was like 5 years ago.
That's funny.
So, yeah. I think, yeah, Shai's right. I don't want to see it go. I don't want the death of it.
It's fair.
I get that.
All right, well, let's get to the disc and the drive. Well, with what time we have left. I think. Sorry for the derailing. Sorry for the second question of the day. Is which that kind of turned into, but we just thought it'd be kind of a funny thing to talk about, and we didn't really have a different place for it. So, okay, I'm gonna actually start this time. I want to talk about Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Um, so I did pick it up. Usually I do what my wife suggests. I usually take her advice, and I did in this case. And I'm glad I did. I like it a lot. For those of you who haven't played it, it's or the Xenoblade or any of the Xenoblade series, like they're very, in my opinion, they're kind of over the top anime esque. Like the plots tend to be a little bit like hyper dramatic at times, but like interesting and often tend to deal with like religious or spiritual or philosophical topics. Like it's less like traditional high fantasy like slay the dragon, save the princess type of stuff, and it's more kind of it's a little bit deeper and usually kind of is trying to ask questions about existence and creation and things like that. And so far it's got a very interesting like setup and like world concept that's pretty different from anything I've seen. And I'm not gonna go too much into that. If you're interested, I suggest you just try it out. Um, but like, there's definitely a lot of questions that like the game kind of builds itself, and like I can almost see that like it set this game up in a very specific way to explore certain like philosophical questions in a kind of a unique way. And I think that's pretty cool. I also think that I really enjoy the combat a lot better than I did Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Um, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was really, really complicated. And it was it was good, and it was kinda satisfying once you got it. It took a long time for it to really kinda click for me, but I feel like the combat in 3 is a little bit more, it's just a little easier to pick up, with while not really sacrificing the depth and the tactical aspect. There are a couple things about it that I don't love. The way the combat works is you've got 6 characters that all fight simultaneously in kind of a live in like an action combat type of thing. It's meant to kind of mimic an MMO. So I mean, think it feels very Final Fantasy 11 ish. You've got DPS on the front lines, or like ranged attackers attacking. You've got healers healing the party. You got tanks holding aggro on mobs, and you control any of those characters, and you can switch between them on the fly, and the AI controls the rest of your characters. And what I like about it is that like all your characters have different roles. Like there's like, I don't know, like 25 some different classes in the game that you're constantly switching between, and like leveling up and unlocking abilities that then you can use on other classes. So like it's a really awesome class feedback loop, which is something I really like in games. Like I like being like, you really have a lot of opportunities to customize your characters. You can have characters like focus in on one of the roles or kind of spread out. And like allows you to make some hybrid classes. Like right now, even though I'm not that far, like one of my main tank characters has also done some healing leveling, and so like one of his side abilities is actually healing ability. So he's almost like a paladin where he can heal himself and heal the party while he's tanking, which is like it adds a lot of customization. But what I don't like about it, and I was thinking back, like I feel like what did this really well was actually Final Fantasy VII Remake, where like when you can like pause the battle and kind
Mm.
of like take a second to like think about what you need to do, or like
Mhm.
if like you need to switch from Cloud to Tifa to use an ability or do something, you can do that, and you can kind of like, it doesn't like pause it, but like things go super slow, so you're not really in trouble. Like in Xenoblade Chronicles 3, you can't really stop. Like the only way you can pause the battle, like brings up a whole different screen, so you can't even see what's going on. So like if you have to switch in the middle of the fight, like I found that to be super difficult, and like it's very chaotic because like if you switch from one character to another, now you're in a different position on the battlefield. There's a lot of positional effects, and like heals and buffs, or like where you place them, and so everybody's constantly moving around. So trying to like figure out, okay, I'm on this character, I need to get to a different character to try to do something. It's really hard to do, and it's also like like it feels like sometimes like the fact that it lets you cycle through all your characters, it wants to let you micromanage your team, but then it doesn't actually feel like you can, because like, for example, oh my damn, like one of the healing classes has a really powerful damage boost that it puts in a circle around itself. And if you're in the circle while you use an ability, it's a big attack bonus, right? Well, sometimes for some reason my healer decides they don't want to use that ability. I don't know why not, but so like I'll be on my attacker, I'll have like a big powerful shot ready, and it's like I don't want to use it until I get my attack bonus. But like I need to use it. So it's like, okay, well, you'd think maybe I could switch to the healer, run the healer over, drop the attack bonus, and then switch back to the attacker and use the attack, right? That's kind of the micromanaging I would expect. Well, when I try to do that, I switch to the healer, and my attacker immediately fires off the attack because it's ready, and now they're being controlled by the AI. So it's like I can't even like I need to like
Mm.
stop time, or like give instructions, or be like, hey, like use your buffs or something. Like there's parts of the combat which are a little bit frustrating, especially in like a tough fight where it's like my guys could just be a little smarter, or if I had a little bit more control over them, a really hard fight would actually be considerably easier. So, but other than that, I'm really enjoying the game. So sorry, I went kind of deep there. Um, but yeah, I've been playing that a lot. I think I don't know how many hours I've logged, but I'm still only on chapter 3. So I don't think I'm super far into it. The Xenoblade Chronicle games are notorious for being really long, and this one I think is no exception, just based on how it's going so far. But I do like it. And I'm glad I got it. My wife gave me good advice on that front. So, any you guys have any questions or comments on Xenoblade
And that's
Chronicles 3?
exclusive for the Switch, right?
That's a Switch game only. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
because it's published by Nintendo.
It's published by
That
Nintendo.
makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I first got my Switch, just looking at people. I think who was it? I know Alla was one, and then Tanked was another who just had like 200 plus hours in those games.
Yeah,
And
I
I was
played them
like,
all.
man, just looking at how many hours you have in there, that seems like more than I want to invest in this. It's going on here.
It's pretty
But
heavy stuff. It's pretty heavy stuff, but it's a lot of fun. It's a good game.
yeah.
I liked in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I liked the blade system. I felt like it was an interesting way to like make a bunch of different characters that you could have in your party, like different types. One thing that seemed like a turnoff to me with 3 was that you looked like there were only maybe like, are there only 6 characters? And I guess those are the characters that just fight in your party, or like
So,
do you have to make choices of who, like, are there more than that, or
so you have so there's as from my understanding, and up to this point it's held true. I don't believe you ever gain or lose party members beyond your 6. So you've got
right?
your 6 core members that are
Yeah,
like that's part of it's a pretty core to the story, and it's
yeah,
really about their relationships, I think, which I think has been really interesting so far. They're all pretty likable for the most part. I think there's some who are more annoying than others,
right,
um, but what's I think they kind of to throw something like that a bone, you actually have 7 party members sometimes. So you can get a hero to join you. And so like these are like NPCs who will join your party and they fight just like the rest of your party. They have their each hero has its own class. And that's actually how you get different classes. So when you start, each of the main characters has their own class and you have those 6 classes that you can kind of swap between. Again, very Final Fantasy 11ish, right? Starting with 6 base classes. But then every time you're able to recruit a hero who most some you'd get through the main story, but most you have to do side quests to find and recruit. Like once you get them, you can like have them you can kind of summon which one you want. You can pick you have to have one at a time, but you can kind of sub in whoever you want for that 7th slot. You personally can't control them, but once they join you, you unlock their class for the rest of your party members can then also take that class.
nice,
So it's kind of cool. It gives you like that 7-person distribution. So you have you know you can kind of customize again for the battle. If you're fighting a lot of opponents, maybe you want an extra tank in there. If you're fighting something that's really heavy damage, you can have an extra healer or extra support unit. Or usually I roll 3 damage dealers, 2 healers, 2 tanks. But it's cool that you can kind of customize that and mix that up based on who you're fighting, what the situation is. Um, and like all of the heroes are so far have been very unique and have had really not only cool, like I mean they do feel like advanced classes, right? Like their classes seem like much cooler and better and more powerful than the 6 that you started with. So you're really incentivized to like go find those heroes and start using their classes and stuff like that. So they feel a little bit like the blades, like
right,
in that way, like they're all kind of you know flashy NPCs, I would say.
nice. That sounds cool.
Do you still have a Switch, Shy, or did you sell your third one?
I sold it. Yeah,
Oh, shy. May one day you have to come out, and I'll show you Xenoblade Chronicles 3 if you
yeah.
come out and hang with us. All right, that's what I got to say about Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Like I said, I'll probably talk about it again in the future because I hope to be playing it for quite a while.
Your your disc in the drive list is pretty ambitious, Smiley.
No, well, yeah, I'm not. Most of those are just quick. I always go big. You're talking about mine. Let's go to you, Van. You've got
That's
a
just notes.
you
No, no, let's
got
go
a.
to Shy. Shy hasn't had
All right,
lot
Shy,
going on
Shy.
in this podcast.
I was gonna break up me and Shy because I am gonna talk a little bit on Shy's too about Lost Ark
Okay,
if
you're the
he's
host. I can go
uh,
then if you want.
is that
I
all
can do
right?
this
Shy,
quickly.
you good with that? We'll
Yeah,
let Van go.
All right. So for me, I put something on here that's a little bit different, but it makes sense. So I don't know how many of our listeners, I guess none. I don't know if you guys are very familiar with the PlayStation Plus categories that have been introduced recently as of last month. So PlayStation Plus, for what we've known it for, ever since I believe PS4 was released, PlayStation Plus was simply the requirement that you needed to subscribe in order to play video games online. Prior to that, in PlayStation 3, it was you still got free games every month. They'll give you a PlayStation 3 title. Usually it was like indie games and all that stuff. And then via PlayStation 4, it was required for a multiplayer online play, and you still got the free games a month. Well, recently so this has been going on for over a decade now. Well, they've just transformed all of PlayStation Plus into a brand new membership. And this is what I've been playing, and I've really liked it. So there's three new tiers now of memberships. You still have the original membership, which gives you your 3 monthly games to download. They could be variations of PS4 games, PS5 games. They did drop the Vita, which they were adding, or which they were updating for quite some time. So now you usually get like one PS5 and two PS4, or the opposite. Of course, it still counts for multiplayer, and you also still get discounts on add-on additional content, skins, things like that for longer, larger games. Well, they've added two new tiers. The next tier is Extra, which is $100. So for those of you who are paying attention and math whizzes, that's $40 more than the $60 base membership. But with it comes a new catalog of games. Now, catalog of games isn't new to subscriptions. PlayStation's tried it with the PlayStation Now, which was a catalog of games, but it was only streaming. Now, the thing that's unique with this is you have a catalog of games that are available for download as if you own them, so long as you keep your extra subscription. It's only $40 more. The other thing that's pretty unique about this is this catalog of games is actually very good. A lot of times you see catalog games, they have a ton of fluff, right? 200 titles, 185 of them are things that you would never play again, and then there's 15 titles that you actually are worth diving into. This catalog is amazing. It has basically all the Assassin's Creed games. It has a ton of huge titles like Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding. It has PS5 versions of the games, Red Dead Redemption 2, a bunch of different Final Fantasy titles, all the way from 9 to even 7, the brand new remake. And it's not just old games that came out 15 years ago. It has a bunch of new titles too, like the Final Fantasy 7 remake integrated is on there, Final Fantasy 8 remastered, 10 remastered, Zodiac Age remastered, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's really quality titles
It's
for
a
only
bunch of games I already
$40
own,
more.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing though, right? Like a lot of these games are games that I have wanted. Well, a lot of them are games that I do own, but a lot of them are games that I would like to own. And they're like $5 here, $10 here, whatnot. Like these games aren't going for $60 anymore.
A lot of
And
games are games that you wanted to get, but she was like, "You gotta finish freaking Red Dead Redemption
yeah, so
first,
now
son."
imagine the predicament I'm in, where she won't let me play any games, and I got a catalog of 400 games I want to dabble in.
I
So
mean,
I upgraded to extra. But what was the kicker for me was I wanted to play Ghost of Tsushima. And I started playing and I was like, okay, this is a game that I will absolutely play to the end, or at least get right to the end where the boss, and I'll stop playing it. And noticed that it was on this catalog. Well, the game itself is $50, but to upgrade my subscription is $40, and then I get another 399 games on top of it. And I'm like, this is a no-brainer. So I did that and really started looking at
Works
the
out.
catalog that's in there, and it made all the sense in the world. And I know it sounds like a big commercial here, but I'm extremely happy with the decision to pay the extra $40 to get this, because not only do I have access to all these other games that I would want to play that I own in PS4 that I just haven't gotten to, like they have the PS5 version now. So I can even download it in the newer graphical, PS5, as opposed to playing in the older PS4 version. Not there's much graphically, but there is some. And the other cool thing that I've noticed from this is that there's a ton of kid games. So this was super helpful for all the dads out there listening, because your kids, like, it's fun to play video games with your kids. All their games are always like $2.99, $5, $7.99, all this stuff, and you got to buy like 20 of them. Well, that's a lot of money. But on here, you got an assortment of like 30 or 40 kid-friendly games at your disposal that you can just download on a whim. You play it for 5 minutes, well, it's no skin off your back, and you can go on to the next thing and try it. Or maybe your kid's not interested in this one and they're interested in the other one. So I'm just very happy with the purchase of this, and I don't think, outside of like a huge AAA title that I've been anticipating, I don't think I'm going to be buying any new video games for a long time. because I have so many in here that I've wanted to play my whole life that I can do like the upgrade for PS5 version on just with the subscription. So the last point I want to make is there's another tier on top of the extra tier that I've been talking about this whole time, and that's called premium. It's another $20 on top of the extra, or twice the essentials at 60 to 120. What that gives you is it allows you to play. I didn't find it in here when I was looking at the official PlayStation Store, but I remember them mentioning there's a retro catalog. Oh, okay, there's a classic catalog. So there's a classics catalog on there. Smiley, you might find these classics catalog more interesting than I did. There's a lot of titles I don't remember, and then of course there's some obvious ones like the Metal Slugs and Ninja Gaiden and
Is
stuff
Vigilante
like
8 in
that.
there?
Let me take a look. There is no, but there
Oh,
is
so they're not PlayStation classics. It's just
the
classics.
Lossa box. Yeah, that's just
right.
PlayStation, or just
Alright.
classics in general.
All right.
But the thing is, the classics catalog is via streaming as well. So from what I understand, you cannot download those classics. So that was less intriguing to me because I did try the PS Now, and I it's just hard doing Twitch fast responsive gaming when streaming. We weren't there when I tried it 4 years ago. We might be there now, broadband that we have, but I wasn't interested in paying the extra $20 to get that classic catalog when there was just so much to offer in the extra tier at this moment. So that's what I've been doing, dabbling in a ton of different games and getting yelled at by Sheeny for not finishing Horizon Zero Dawn. So I'll get that done by the next disc in the drive.
There you go. All right,
And
Shaw, your turn.
that's a year. We didn't really talk about it, but that's the cost is
Yeah.
per year, right? So basically,
Per year.
like it's $5 a month for essentials, $10 a month for premium, basically, and then
Yeah.
extras in the middle. All right. I mean, I
Right.
think
And
that
then I
gives
was
some
wondering,
context. Yeah. Sorry.
and I was like, this is a no-brainer. Like, why would PlayStation do this? And then I started thinking, well, yeah, I paid 40 extra to own Ghost of Tsushima, but guess what? I got to pay 40 extra again next year to continue to own it, and then the year
Yeah.
after that. So it's
If you want
really
to go back and play it or
kind of,
whatever.
yeah, exactly. So it's kind of
I think
not
too,
forcing you, but
you also get a
another way to
lot of
think about it is
people.
you're going to be spending an extra $40 a year because of the subscription. So
Mm-hmm.
You also get a lot of people who, once they sign up for things, they don't ever cancel it, even if they
oh,
don't use
sure.
it that much anymore. Like very common. Like,
Gym
Yeah.
memberships.
yeah, like well,
Oh
yeah.
my
I
gosh.
mean, I've known people who have paid for MMOs for months and months.
Yeah.
Subscriptions to Final Fantasy 11 and stuff, long after they stop playing, and like they just never. They're like, well, maybe I'll come back. Maybe I'll use it next month. I think there's definitely some value there for Sony, and like I think too, like it's a smart move. Like if you're gonna roll out something new like this, like make it make it feel worth it, right? Like
Yeah.
people are gonna be like, oh, now I gotta pay more. Like if you make it feel like a really good deal, that gets them in the door. And then even if they don't keep that, even if you decide to downgrade back to the 60 with what you had, like then it makes it a little easier to swallow the fact that they have a new pricing model. So I actually think it's kind of smart to
Yep.
actually set the table.
Kudos to you, Sony. Yeah.
All right, Shy, your turn. What you got?
All right. Well, we are approaching. I just realized as we were talking the 6-month anniversary of the release of Lost Ark in the West. It came out February 11th. So
Already?
in 2 days,
Wow.
it'll be 6
Time
months
flying.
since that game launched officially, and a number of us had head start, despite the fact that like every MMO, it was a disaster. And I think we got to play maybe 1 day of the 3 days it was available head start. But yeah, I keep playing Lost Ark. Were you disagreeing with that, Smiley, or I don't know?
I guess I don't remember. I remember there being a little bit of
It wasn't.
trouble, but I didn't.
I say disaster. It wasn't as big as many
Yeah,
MMOs.
I
It was
don't
actually
remember.
pretty smooth, but there were a number of outages. There was at least one of the head start days where it was pretty much unavailable, like
Yeah,
because of
that's true.
maintenances or stuff. But
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't trying to,
yeah,
to disagree. I just
no,
it's
no.
more I don't remember it, but it was
I didn't
6
want
months
to.
ago now.
I
What
didn't
do I
want to
remember
embellish too
yesterday?
much because I do agree it wasn't horrible. We've seen much worse. But
Yeah.
yeah, I keep playing Lost Ark. I don't know the last time we really talked about Lost Ark. I know we did. I think we did a Lost Ark episode. I think back when all three of us were playing it, and I think we maybe
No,
touched on it a
it
little
was
bit.
when Van had quit and we were trying to get him to come back,
Oh, all right.
and it
It
didn't
was
work,
the intervention episode. All right.
which
Well,
is
it
a
didn't
shame.
work. All right.
Really,
Yeah. So I know we both kept playing it, Smiley, and so this will be kind of probably a collaborative segment. But I have in my time playing it, I've actually gone through 3 different main characters, which in a game like Lost Ark is very frustrating because you put a lot of work into upgrading a character, and so like when you switch from a main and start working on another one, it hurts and it really hampers your progress. And then what's funny is I've actually kind of reverted a little bit, not like reverted mains, but so it's funny. So like I started out the game as a character called a Soul Fist, and it's kind of like more of a burst oriented character where like it's focused a lot of around their like awakening skill, kind of their ultimate skill that normally most classes have. Like I think all classes have the same cooldown on the awakening. I think like base. I think is that not right? All right.
I don't
I assumed
think so.
they were all 5 minutes or something, but maybe
I
there
feel
are
like my,
different
and maybe I'm
lengths.
wrong, but I think my
Uh,
paladin's 3.
all right, so maybe they're not. All right, so already misinformation being
Fantastic.
thrown around in this podcast, but
I could be wrong.
they have one long cooldown skill called their awakening, and so there's actually a way to reduce the cooldown on that. And so this character I started with, that was actually something you focused on. You focused on powering it up, reducing the cooldown, and using it. Well, the problem was it was like a really long animation skill. Basically, you jump up in the air and sit there for a couple seconds, powering this giant spirit bomb up, and you throw it on the ground. Well, it was really fun leveling and playing. Yeah, very Dragon Ball Z. It was fun playing it early on in the game, but then once I got to end game and bosses start moving around a lot, like you could fire it up. You know, even the boss could be knocked down. You could start the animation and it could get up and then like dash away, and then your thing goes off, and it became very frustrating. And so I was like, I'm just sick of this. So I quit out of that. At the time, there was a new class coming out called the Glavier with a halberd. Looked really cool. There was a lot of hype about it. So I'm like, all right, let me I'll try this out. Took that up pretty high. But then also was like there were some things I didn't like about it, and so I ended up playing, oddly enough, the class that Van started as, the Shadow Hunter, one of the assassin classes, which basically revolves around a demonic mode transformation. So basically, you spend a little part of your time, especially as you get higher end game, you spend a very short period of your time kind of building this gauge, and then you activate the gauge and you turn into this kind of like demon form, and you have like more powerful moves. And really enjoy that class. It has a lot of sustain, just a lot of impact, cool animations. And so I've been enjoying that. And then, but oddly enough, like I said, been reverting a bit because just recently I've been kind of working on some alts, trying to get some other characters up to like just generate resources. And I revisited my Soul Fist and tried the other build. All classes in Lost Ark have 2 viable builds. They have 2, like they're called class engravings, and 2 different playstyles. So they have it has a playstyle where it doesn't use, you don't even use that move. The whole point of the class is very fast paced. You're using abilities very quickly and you regenerate resources really quickly, and have really been enjoying it. And then I've also started playing my Glavier again just on the side, and I've been enjoying it. So sometimes, I don't know, like the phrase absence makes the heart grow fonder. You know, there might be some merit to that. I just needed a break from some of that, but yeah, still just been playing the game and, you know, chugging along.
Yeah, well, I'll jump in too because I've been playing quite a bit of Lost Ark as well. A little bit less since Xenoblade Chronicles 3 came out. Like that's been, taken away. I've really kind of, but I've gotten to a place which is nice where I don't feel like I have to do as much. I finally got my main character up to the item level that I kind of want to be at right now. So I'm basically ready for the next raid that isn't coming out till like the end of September. So like I'm kind of parked for a little bit, which is nice. I don't feel like I had to push. It gives me an opportunity to, as Shai was mentioning, like level some of my alts and kind of play at a little bit lesser pace. It's like I don't have to do everything every day. There's a couple chores that I'm trying to get through, but it really has taken my kind of required play time of what I need to do to stay relevant down, which has been nice. It's been a nice break, but I will say, now that I've gotten that far, like I've gotten my character to you know, a kind of a true end game spot. When if you read the forums and people talked about, what's good about Lost Ark, why do you keep playing it? What keeps you interested when it's such a kind of a grindy rat racy MMO like they all are? Um, Everybody said, Legion raids. Oh, Legion raids are where it's at. That's the most fun content. It's so good. Everybody loved it. It's what saved the game in Korea. This game was going down, and then Legion raids came out, and now it's where it is, right? Like that's what everybody talked about. And like having experienced now the first 2 Legion raids on normal mode and hard mode. I haven't done Vicus hard yet, but I think I'm gonna try it this weekend. Um, I agree with it. I actually think the Legion raids are just they're so fun. They're really good. They're really enjoyable. They're I think the right level of difficulty. They're not they're challenging. They require teamwork, they require coordination, they require you to play your job well and learn the boss's moves, but they just don't remind me like the Final Fantasy 14 like just back-breaking do it perfect every time, every minute, and if one person makes a mistake, you're done. Start over. Like it's just not quite that level of like just maddening. Um, and I felt like in every group I've been with, whether it's been a group that like Shy, you and I have put together with some of our other friends, or whether it's been with a pug group, like, and they haven't all worked out, right? Sometimes we haven't cleared, sometimes we've ended up breaking up and it's gone the wrong way. But I felt like a lot of times with 14, it just felt like we were just beating our face against a wall, just like over and over trying to do it and not really making any progress. And I feel like every group I've been in, like sometimes there's a little bit of that, but like I always feel like we are getting better. Like every time we do it, we get a little bit further. We see like, oh, you know what it was? Somebody screwed up or somebody misunderstood something, or we had some bad luck sometimes. Like it's just been a lot more of a fulfilling experience, and I really look forward. Like tonight's the reset. I'm excited that I'll get to do the Legion raids again next week. Like I want to do them, and like the only thing that is sad about it to me, and I'm sure you'll share this a little bit, Shy, is we just don't have the like. It would be so much better if this was like the Final Fantasy 11 era where we had a full shell, where we could field, even if it was like 6 or 7 players, and maybe we try to find one along the way. But like, Shy and Aureus and I tried to run every week for a while, and we did some good things. We had a lot of success and it was fun, but it's a lot of work trying to put everything together when you're picking up 5 different people anyway, and it's a different rotating cast every week. Like it's just kind of it just makes it a lot harder. And so this week, Shy ended up deciding to go out on his own and try to find a different raid group, which makes sense, right? Because it's easier sometimes to join a pre-established group if you have the bandwidth to commit to that. So, um, it's kind of like I think this kind of content. Like, I wish we had the group for Final Fantasy 14, maybe like less Sumerian. Um, but for the other part, like how much cooler would this be if like Rido was playing and Van had stayed with it and Tankin was with us and like we had a couple more people to like actually have a core of people playing with us.
Ray.
eh, Ray, oh my God, Ray would be so good at this game. He'd be amazing at this game. He'd be, like I mean, and is even Z. Z was playing with us for a while. He's kind of burnt out on it. He's taking a break now. So, um, and it's understandable. It's a daunting game. It's a lot of work, and I can understand people. I understand that it's not for everybody, but I've really enjoyed the end game portion of it, and I'm excited kind of where my account is that I can really focus on just doing the things I want to in the game and the things I find fun. And we'll see once the next content push comes out. Maybe I'll have to work a little harder, but it just goes to show that when you have only a couple hours a night to play, like I do, like I haven't spent a ton of money on the game. I haven't spent a lot of time on it, but like not 8 hours a day like I used to, like I would play Final Fantasy 11. Like you still can be relevant and keep progress. A lot of people say you can't, but I just haven't found that to be true. Like like my account isn't what Shy's is because I don't have quite as much time, but it doesn't mean I'm not relevant in the in-game experience. So
Yeah, you can still do the same stuff that I can do.
that's
So
right.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's not really a difference there.
yeah, like you've had like I wouldn't have had the luxury like you did to switch my main 3 times probably. Like if I jumped between mains a whole bunch, I probably would not be anywhere close to where I am because like you said, that's a real big investment, that
Yeah,
like or I would have had to
I've
pay.
suffered from that.
You
Yeah, I mean, I
suffered
could have
for it.
had maybe a 1500 character by now or something like that if I
Yeah.
had
Oh,
really, like
you easily could.
focused on a character. But yeah,
All right, that's all for me from Lost Ark. So I'm gonna skip myself since I basically just went again, and we'll go back to Van. What else you got, Van?
I think Sean and I should take this one together.
Yeah,
oh,
This is a
I might.
Battlefield 2042
now
making a
you can just
comeback
take
again.
that. You can just take it.
No, no, I don't want it
I want
anymore.
to be
You
associated with
can
that
take
game.
it. Do you hear
I'll
the
bring
EA
it back.
servers are broken today?
uh, Wait, the
Paula
servers
and
are
I tried
down?
to get together. Well, like they're having connection issues. Friends lists aren't popping up, so you can't invite people to your game anymore. Whereas in previous games, you got around that because every other Battlefield had the server section, the server browser, that you can actually pick what game you want to play, where this one forces you to play whatever game they want you to play. So anyways, it's broken, so nobody can even play with each other.
Wow.
Aside from that, the game is, and I mean, keep me honest here, Shy, I think it's moving in the right direction. Like,
We have fun playing it. I can't say it's a good game, but we have a lot of fun playing it. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's what games are
Believe
for,
that's
right?
what you said last time.
well, I didn't go as far as to say it's a good game. I said it's moving in the right direction.
It seems to be moving in I think the season pass has helped a lot.
Yeah, the new maps are pretty awesome.
Yeah.
They're trying different configurations with
Yeah.
they're constantly rebalancing, and I feel like they're moving in the right direction. It's just a shame because it all seems to me like things they really could have caught beforehand with a very in-depth beta or alpha or test phase and something. And unfortunately, this is the world we live in now, where you are the test subject
I
when
was
you
gonna
buy a
say,
game.
you basically are the
And
beta tester.
yeah, and your feedback is what sculpts it for better or for worse. But no, it's been pretty fun. I've been getting some more time gaming in with Shy. We have another friend of the pod, Allah, who plays with us too. And that's another game where, like, you talk about having the core people, Smiley. Like it man, if we could just have a fourth person, like, it makes all the difference in our squad. And when you're playing with yourself versus having yourself and a friend versus having yourself and like two other friends or three, man, it makes all the difference in that gameplay, because there's so much reliant on squad activity and being there to support each other and having a common objective within the game, overall objective, where that's another thing that would make it huge. So I think with all this to say, I think if we all downloaded Planet Side 2 again, we could get Ray back.
Oh man, Planet Side 2.
I still have it installed. I saw it had an update on my Steam today, and
Yeah, it's got like a summer thing going on right now, like Surf and Storm or something. Or
the thing that made me mad when we tried to go back to Planet Side 2 is you couldn't get on Vesemir like ever, and that was the best planet. That was my favorite one. All my good memories are like that snow-covered. I don't know. I loved that world.
Vesemir was the best, continent.
Or Esamir, not I said
Yeah.
Vesemir. I've been watching too much Witcher. Like, oh my god,
get off
like,
Vesemir, leave him alone.
I'm just like, why is that world, like, the fact that they lock out the worlds just annoys the hell out of me.
I'm just waiting for Planet Side 3. And that'll be the next thing I play for 10 years straight.
I might play that Witcher. I'd give Planet Side 3 a chance potentially.
There's an announcement in a week. It's like Pantheon was really Planet Side 3 all along, and it's like they reveal where all this stuff turned.
Imagine if Pantheon, like, they keep the core elements of the MMO, but it's a first-person shooter MMO, and Planet Side 3 and Pantheon. If it's called Planet Side 3 : Pantheon, that would be amazing. Oh god, best game in the world ever.
Planets Theon.
I was trying to get there. It doesn't quite
Pantheon. There you go.
Oh, Pantheon, yeah, there you go. All right, fellas. Well, yeah, you're right. I didn't get to the rest of my stuff, but I didn't have a whole lot for either. I'm playing some old school PlayStation and RPGs that are, maybe I'll get to next time. But yeah, I mean, I think we're running up on time here. Did you guys have anything else you want to get to?
No, but I'm hoping to have, my final thoughts are, I'm hoping to have finished Horizon Zero Dawn and letting everybody know that it was worth it next time we chat.
All right.
Give us a final, even though it won't be this in the drive episode, maybe you can give us like a quick short synopsis now that that's what the people are going to want. They're going to want it now.
The many people, yes, who listen to this, I'm sure they will be waiting eagerly for your report, as will the two of us, I'm sure.
Yes.
All right, fellas. Well, thanks everybody for being here. This has been episode 118 of the Focus Target Podcast. You are Disc in the Drive, and I am your host, Captain Smiley.
This is Shy Roll.
Cover us, Porkins. We're out.
Did I go into that too fast or something? Sorry.